Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Well, welcome back to First Contact Radio. Today is Thursday. It is the 18th of August, 2016. You see right here, last night or earlier today, we had a full moon. So it is a full moon over the course of today. We had a lunar eclipse at that particular time. It was 2:46 a.m. when all that occurred. Our sun sign, like yesterday, and for a couple more days, still in Leo. So we know the drill with Leo. We're working to express, because the conscious mind, the sun sign is the conscious mind. The conscious mind is what we're thinking about consciously. So we are thinking about how to tame the beast within, and we use our imagination in order to do so. That way we can be more effective with the right useness in how we use this energy around us. And the moon sign for today, it's not there right yet. We're in a void of course phase coming out of Aquarius, but we are moving into the next moon sign, which is the moon, or Pisces. Moon is the card in the tarot. Pisces is all about water. It's water. The one symbol is the two fish swimming in opposite directions. So it signifies the emotions go one way or they can go the other way. And if they do, there can be a problem there because you can't go in two different directions at the same time. You have to go in one direction. Henceforth, the idea of walking down the path. When we walk down the path, eventually we get to the point of what we know, and then we have to go past that. We have to go past our comfort zone into the unknown. Once we get into that phase, our emotions kick in because now we start feeling things about walking into places we don't know, but we have to get into the unknown. We have to keep moving forward. So that's just the nature of how it is with life. And once we get past those pillars of the unknown, now we need to rely upon our faith. Faith that no matter where we're going, understanding that we are guided, understanding that there is a process taking place and we are part of it, and that our emotions, if put in check, will be a great assistance to us rather than a detriment. So some of the aspects we're looking at today, first we have 11:34 a.m. This is officially when the moon sign goes into Pisces, and then this evening we have the moon. Pisces is in a square with Mars. Mars is the energizer, so that path is going to be energized. And that path of Pisces, as we know, is a path that deals with emotions. So our emotions can get highly charged. And what we need to do is we just need to make sure that we are not getting all crazy when that happens. We just have to stay focused. We have to stay balanced. We need to find a way to stay calm and not let our emotions get all out of whack. And that's the whole lesson here, because it is a lesson. So it's a lesson of what happens when Mars energizes Pisces, when the fire energizes the water. Okay? Sometimes if you just take it back to the basic elements, you got Leo's fire sign, you've got Pisces, a water sign. And when you have Mars coming in, Mars is a fire sign as well, and yet that fire sign is going to stimulate the water. Well, we know what happens when water gets heated up. It can boil, it can become usable. You make tea or soup out of it. It could boil, in which case it is used for other purposes, or it can become steam, and now you have another form of energy. We have a square which says there's a lesson. So the lesson is how this energy interacts with our emotions. And of course, that's all on the subconscious, because our subconscious affects what's going on consciously, because it's that underlying thing. And sometimes we want to jump to take care of what's going on with that issue underneath. Okay, and then of course the full moon will be feeling the effect of that, and the lunar eclipse we just came out of as well. Lunar eclipse always brings some sort of interesting change and experience, so we'll just observe what goes on over the course of today. Moon sign for today, 99.9%. Now we're at a waning moon, means we're going back down. September 1st, it's hard to believe that we're already talking about September, but September 1st, 2 weeks away from today, is when we'll be back to the new moon. The Jewish calendar today is the 14th of Av, the 14th of the month Av, and the daily thought for today is the giving relationship. In a home, in a relationship, in any situation where people work together, each side has to give. What you give is not so important, but how you give is. You have to want to give. Okay. And space weather, our solar wind, 359.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is quiet, expected to stay quiet, jumping up a little bit higher into the 3 over the next 24 hours. Our coronal holes, we do have a few slight ones, but nothing real heavy duty, though. We do have a notification around the 19th or 20th. We are going to feel an effect of the wind hitting us. Both flare possibilities are low at 1%, and looks like the geomagnetic storm activity is slightly increasing in the mid latitudes, jumping from 20 to 25. In the upper latitudes, it's making a big jump in the severe range from 5 to 40, minor from 15 to 25. So there is activity in the upper latitudes that is beginning to increase, a little bit on the minor latitudes as well. So we'll just see how that affects us and how we go through our day today. That is the cosmic weather. UFO news is up next.
This is the UFO news with Joshua Poet.
Alrighty, Dirk, thank you very much. UFO news for today. We've got 4 stories for us. First story is a story of a couple of UFOs over Las Vegas. A man in Las Vegas, Nevada witnessed, pictured, and videotaped 2 cigar-shaped UFOs back on August 7th. He reported his UFO sighting to the Mutual UFO Network. According to this report, the witness was heading south at 7:45 p.m. when 2 highly reflective objects caught his attention. Both of the objects are moving slowly at first, as the witness observed. In his report, he claims to have identified them immediately as something he had never seen flying in the sky. The witness says that he has experience in military bases for over 20 years, including living on SAC alert bases, SAC alert bases. On this note, the witness apparently has much experience of seeing all types of military aircraft and their flight capabilities. But on August 7th, the witness was certain he saw something not military and not civilian. This was the time the witness decided to shoot a photo from his UFO sighting using his cellular phone, but the object seemed difficult to focus. From static pictures, he switched to video using his Samsung Note 5. The witness was inside a Jeep with his family when all of this occurred, and all 4 of them say they saw the mysterious aerial things, including his retired Army father. As the family continued to watch the event, both UFOs flew north and then northeast direction towards Nellis Air Force Base. This case is still under investigation with Nevada MUFON. Okay, the video itself is 3 minutes. And there's our object right there. Alright, you can see it right in the middle of the screen. Okay, it's moving pretty quick. Actually, both of them are moving pretty quick. They just moved off screen. There's the one again right there. Okay, there you go. Links available. First Contact Radio. Next, we have a black UFO sighting. This was recorded over the moon. This is interesting footage of a UFO sighting recorded while flying over the Earth's moon. This took place on the 10th. Alright, there's our image of the moon, and let's get to this UFO flying over it. Video here is 47 seconds. Where's that UFO? Where is it? There it is, right there. See it? This was something someone recorded. There it is again, just so you can see. Right there. Okay, very interesting. Here we have a sighting in the UK. This was the 13th. That's that little orange ball type thing in Shrewsbury, UK. Certainly not the drone I filmed later. There is a possibility it was a Chinese lantern. But it's interesting that it suddenly disappears from sight. There may be explanations for this, such as the lantern burning out or disappearing in a cloud, but it didn't reappear once. So my feeling is that the explanation is unlikely. I usually capture 1 or 2 orbs at the Shrewsbury Flower Show, but saw none this year. Alright, very interesting. 36-second video. And one last story. This has to do with sheep being abducted from a field in Lincolnshire. Animal abductions and mutilations are nothing new around the world and are still commonly seen, especially in South America region. But here we have 1,500 sheep that disappeared together, which is kind of odd indeed. For a UFO to take them, it had to be huge unless it had some sort of shrinking technology to transport things more easily. This should be in national importance to the UK and needs deeper investigation. A documentary filmmaker has questions whether the disappearance of 1,500 sheep from a field near Louth was the result of UFOs. Footage uploaded by YouTube by an account called .looter has investigated possible UFO sightings across the East Lindsey area, with one witness claiming to have seen a huge spherical object hovering in the sky at Elford. The 1,500 sheep mysteriously disappeared from the field at Steingate overnight in September of 2011. No one in the area claimed to see or hear anything. Arrests were made at the time in connection with the disappearance, but the documentary footage claims that no one was ever charged or prosecuted. In the documentary, UFO spotter Eric Goring from Ringhill told the video that he had seen hundreds of sightings of what he called the Black Triangle not far from the area at the time. I saw these white or red or orange balls of light, which turned out to be the Black Triangle. They were out in the fields going round and round till it lit up bright, and then when they got closer, I could see the Black Triangle. I've seen the Black Triangle hundreds of times, up to 40 in one night. Mr. Goring said the triangle objects were about 30 feet long on each side. I've come down to the ground at thousands of miles an hour. They come straight to the ground. They loop out and then go up again. It floats. It makes no noise, he says. It was very dark, no luminosity, but it had legs, and there were lights just above the legs. Taxi driver Morag Taylor from Alford told the video maker that she had once seen a similar triangle sightings on the drive from Skiskenes to Louth in the early hours of the morning. She said there was a thing hovering in the sky with lights, too big to be a star. Then it just shot away at speed. I thought it was much faster than a Harrier jet. It was quite low, probably 3 stories high, quite long, probably the size of an articulated lorry. It was very dark, no luminosity. It had legs. There were lights just above the legs. It was triangular. Another witness spoke in the film said once he saw a huge spherical object in the sky while he was driving between Alford and Mablethorpe. He said, I came around the corner and my little girl who was in the back seat screamed. The car in front stopped. There was a gray, egg-shaped thing, I would say 3 times longer than the width of the road. It was stopped right above the road. It was absolutely huge, bigger than a plane. All of a sudden, it shot back in the opposite direction it came from. The documentary maker said he believed that the alleged sightings could be linked to the disappearance of the huge number of sheep. He said, I don't think any open-minded person would doubt that there was something particular going on in the skies near this sparsely populated area. Alright, so there you go. So what do you think's happening with the sheep? Maybe they want to be farmers and they're collecting them. Or maybe they're trying to understand what humans mean when they say they're counting sheep before they go to bed. They want them to gather a large collection. I don't know. Just throwing out a couple speculative ideas. And there you have it. I'll be back. We shall continue on. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if by land and two if by sea? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay. Demanding the truth, it is. All right, so I've brought up over the last couple days some different events that are taking place during the course of this election cycle. I was talking the other day, and I mentioned the Rules for Radicals. I've mentioned it a couple times. It's an important book to those in the liberal democratic agenda. So today I'm going to go over that with you, because what is taking place is there are two sides: the Democratic liberal side, the Republican conservative side, and these two sides are battling it out. Well, one of these sides has a particular playbook that they follow. It's a specific book that Obama has been influenced by greatly. Hillary Clinton has also been influenced by it greatly, and it's a book that is, well, let's just get into it rather than me spitballing trying to tell you what it is. Rules for Radicals. This is over at Wikipedia. This is the entry there. It says Rules for Radicals, a pragmatic primer for realistic radicals, is the latest book, the last book published in 1971 by activist and writer Saul D. Alinsky, shortly before his death. His goal for the Rules for Radicals was to create a guide for future community organizers to use in uniting low-income communities or have-nots in order for them to gain social, political, legal, and economic power. Within it, Alinsky compiled the lessons he had learned through the experiences of community organizing from 1939 through 1971 and targeted these lessons at the current new generation of radicals. Divided into chapters, 10 chapters, Rules for Radicals provides 10 lessons on how a community organizer can accomplish the goal of successfully uniting people into an active organization with the power to effect change in a variety of issues. Though targeted at a community organization, these chapters also touch on other issues that range from ethics, education, communication, and symbol construction to nonviolence and political philosophy. Though published for the new generation of counterculture era organizers in 1971, Alinsky's principles have been successfully applied by numerous government, labor, community, and congregation based organizations, and the main themes of his organizational methods were elucidated upon in Rules for Radicals. They've been recurring elements in political campaigns in recent years. Okay, so one of the phrases we need to understand right off the bat here is it says this is something that was as a guide for community organizers. Well, let's see. Do we know anyone in our government that was a community organizer? We sure do. That would be Barack Obama. It says here community organizing is a process where people who live in a community in proximity to each other can come together in an organization that acts in their shared interests. Unlike those who promote more consensual community building, community organizers generally assume that social change is necessary, involves conflict and social struggle for order to generate a collective power for the powerless. The core goal of community organizing is to generate durable power for an organization, representing the community, allowing it to influence key decision makers on a range of issues over time. In the ideal, for example, this can get community organizing groups a place at the table before important decisions are made. Community organizers work with and develop new local leaders, facilitating coalitions and assisting in development of campaigns. So we have a situation here in which someone is taking on social means, using social means in order to gather communities together around some sort of collective ideas. Okay, now the author of this, let's take a look at him, Saul Alinsky, who was born in 1909 and he died on June 12th, 1972. He was an American community organizer and writer, generally considered to be the founder of modern community organizing, often noted for his 1971 book Rules for Radicals. In the course of nearly 4 decades of political organizing, Alinsky received much criticism, but also gained praise from many public figures. His organizing skills were focused on improving the living conditions of poor communities across North America. In the 1950s, he began turning his attention to improving conditions in the African American ghettos, beginning with Chicago's and later traveling to the ghettos in California, Michigan, New York, and a dozen other trouble spots. His ideas were adapted in the 60s by some U.S. college students and other counterculture era organizers whom used them as a part of their strategies for organizing on campus and beyond. Time magazine wrote in 1970 that it's not too much to argue that the American democracy has been altered by Alinsky's ideas. Conservative author William F. Buckley said in 1966 that Alinsky was very close to being an organizational genius. All right, you can read a little bit more about him. And said in 1930s, Alinsky organized the Back of the Yards neighborhood in Chicago, made infamous by Upton Sinclair's 1906 novel The Jungle, which described the horrific working conditions in Union stockyards. He went on to found the Industrial Areas Foundation while organizing the Woodlawn neighborhood. IAF trained organizers and assisted in the founding of community organization around the countries. In Rules for Radicals, his final work published in 1971, 1 year before his death, Alinsky wrote at the end of his personal acknowledgments, and that's what we're going to get into now. His dedication goes to Lucifer. Okay, lest we forget the over-shoulder acknowledgement of the very first radical. From all legends, mythology, and history, he who is known where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom. Okay, so What we have here is a book of really radical ideas, and we're going to go over this book, what it is right now. So one of the first things we're going to understand about this book is what I just read there, the acknowledgments. Now, we had a situation where Ben Carson made mention of this when he was talking at the Republican convention. He said that Saul Alinsky dedicated his book, made a dedication in his book to Lucifer. So we want to see if that's true. He also alluded that Hillary was influenced by this book and therefore guilt by association was being influenced by Lucifer himself. So let's take a look at this here. Here we have Rules for Radicals. It's a PDF, 209 pages for you to check out. We got the title right there, and if I scroll down, we have a section here, personal acknowledgments. And then finally we get to the second page of the personal acknowledgments. And here we have the last one, lest we forget, at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical from all our legends, mythologies, and history, and who is to know where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which. The first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom. And that's Lucifer. So yes, we do have right off the bat an acknowledgement to Lucifer from Saul Alinsky. So it kind of lets you know his mindset and where this is going at the beginning. All right, so here's our contents. And let's go down here. Prologue. The revolutionary force today has two targets, moral as well as material. The young protagonists are the one movement reminiscent of the idealistic early Christians, yet they also urge violence and cry, burn the system down. They have no illusions about the system, but plenty of illusions about the way to change our world. It is to this point that I have written this book. These words are written in desperation, partly because it is what they do and will do that will give meaning to what I and the radicals of my generation have done with our lives. They are now vanguard, and they had to start almost from scratch. Few of us survived the Joe McCarthy Holocaust of the early 50s, and those who were even fewer, whose understanding and insights had developed beyond dialectical materialism of orthodox Marxism, my fellow radicals who were supposed to pass on the torch of experience and insights to a new generation, just were not there. As the young looked at the society around them, it was, in their words, materialistic, decadent, bourgeois in all its values, bankrupt, and violent. Is it any wonder that they rejected us in toto? Today's generation is desperately trying to make sense out of their lives and out of the world. Most of them are products of the middle class. They have rejected the materialistic backgrounds, the goal of a well-paid job, suburban homes, automobile, country club memberships, first-class travel, status, security, and everything that meant success to their parents. They have had it. They watched it lead their parents to tranquilizers, alcohol, long-term endurance, marriages or divorce, high blood pressure, ulcers, frustration, and disillusionment of the good life. They seem the almost unbelievable idiocy of our political leadership. In the past, political leaders ranging from the mayors to governors to the White House were regarded with respect and almost reverence. Today they are viewed with contempt. This negativism now extends to all institutions from the police and the courts to the system itself. We are living in a world of mass media which daily exposes the society's innate hypocrisy, its contradictions, and the apparent failure of almost every facet of our societal and political life. The young have seen their activist participatory democracy turned into its antithesis, nihilistic bombing and murder. The political panaceas of the past, such as the revolutions in Russia and China, have become the same old stuff under a different name. The search for freedom does not seem to have any road or destination. The young are inundated with a barrage of information and facts so overwhelming that the world has come to seem an utter bedlam, which has them spinning in a frenzy looking for what man has always looked for from the beginning of time, a way that has some meaning or sense. A way of life means a certain degree of order where things have relationship, they can be pieced together into a system that at least provides some clues to what life is about. Men have always yearned for and sought direction upon settling their religions, inventing political philosophies, creating scientific systems like Newton's, or formulating ideologies of various kinds. This is what is behind the common cliche, getting it all together, despite the realization that all the values and factors are relative, fluid, and changing, and it is possible to get it all together when only relatively, these elements will shift and move together just like the changing patterns in turning a kaleidoscope. Okay, there's a lot more to this prologue. I'm just going to move on from here, and I'm going to jump ahead to this section where we start getting into tactics. Okay, these are various tactics that are used by this organization. Okay, so let's take a look at what some of these tactics are. Starts off with a quote by Hannibal: "We will either find a way or we will make one." Tactics means doing what you can with what you have. Tactics are those consciously deliberate acts by which human beings live with each other and deal with the world around them. In the world of give and take, tactics is often the art of how to take and how to give. Here our concern is with the tactic of taking, how the have-nots can have power, how the have-nots can take power from the haves. Okay, so what we're doing is we're looking at a system of how to take something. Okay, how those who have not are going to take something from those who have. For an elementary illustration of tactics, take parts of your face as the point of reference: your eyes, your ears, your nose. First, the eyes. If you have organized a vast mass-based people's organization, you can parade it visibly before the enemy and openly show your power. Second, the ears. If your organization is small in numbers, then do what Gideon did: conceal the members in the dark, but raise a din and clamor that will make the listener believe that your organization's numbers has more than it does. And third, the noise. If your organization is too tiny even for noise, stink up the place. Okay, so right off what we're dealing with here. Right off the bat, we've got some interesting qualities here of taking. So the tactics are to take from others what you don't have. It's to parade before the enemy, showing that you have power, whether it's real or not. To not show how big your group is, so you use deception so that you can have a small group and go out there and others think you have a large group. And finally, it's just to make a big noise, or as it says here, stink up the place. All right, so we see some of the qualities here that start to be a little bit questionable, right? So let's look at these specific tactics. Always remember the first rule of power tactics. Power is not what you have, but what your enemy thinks you have. Okay? Power is not what you have, but what your enemy thinks you have. So, when we're looking at this liberal agenda, what's going on, they don't actually have power, but they're giving a perception as if they do, because they look at everybody that is not liberal democratic as the enemy. So that's one thing to know, that everyone else outside of them is the enemy. And their first objective is to trick the enemy, so the enemy thinks that they are stronger than they are. Okay? The second rule: never go outside the experience of your people. When an action or tactic is outside the experience of the people, the result is confusion, fear, and retreat. It also means a collapse of communication, as we have noted. Okay, so you notice that the organizations that are out there, that's exactly what they do. They stay within themselves. They bond together with their people just to keep that thing going. You don't bring any outsiders in. Third rule: whenever possible, go outside of the experience of the enemy. You want to cause confusion, fear, and retreat. General William T. Sherman, whose name still causes a frenzied reaction throughout the South, provided a classic example of going outside the enemy's experience. Until Sherman's military tactics and strategies were based on standard patterns. All armies had fronts, rears, flanks, lines of communication, and lines of supply. Military campaigns are aimed at such standard objectives as rolling up the flanks of an enemy army, or cutting the lines of supply or lines of communication, or moving around to attack from the rear. When Sherman cut loose on his famous march to the sea, he had no front or rear lines of supply or any other lines. He was on the loose and living on the land. The South, confronted with this new form of military invasion, reacted in confusion, panic, terror, collapse. Sherman swept on the inevitable victory. Okay. Now, it has a little side note. It says power has always been derived from two main sources, money and people. Lacking money, the have-nots must build power from their own flesh and blood. The mass movement expresses itself in the mass tactics. Against the finesse and sophistication of the status quo, the have-nots have always had to club their way. In early Renaissance Italy, the playing cards showed swords for the nobility. The word spade is a corruption of the Italian word for sword. Chalices, which became hearts for the clergy, diamonds for the merchants, and clubs as the symbol of the peasants. Okay, so continuing on. So Sherman swept on to inevitable victory. It was the tactic that years later, early in the World War II, the Nazi Panzer tank divisions emulated in their far-flung sweeps into the enemy territory, as did our own General Patton with the American 3rd Armored Division. Okay, so third rule they're trying to create panic, terror, collapse, fear. Okay, the fourth rule, make the enemy live up to their own book of rules. You can kill them with this, for they can no more obey their own rules than the Christian church can live up to Christianity. The fourth rule carries within it the fifth rule. Ridicule is the man's most potent weapon. It is almost impossible to counter-attack ridicule. It also infuriates the opponent, who then reacts to your advantage. The sixth rule is having a good tactic is one that your people enjoy. If people are not having a ball doing, there is something very wrong with the tactic. Seventh rule, a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. Man can sustain militant interest in any issue for only a limited amount of time, after which it becomes ritualistic commitment, like going to church on Sunday mornings. New issues and crises are always developing, and one's reaction becomes, well, my heart bleeds for those people, and I'm all for the boycott, but after all, there are more important things in life, and there it goes. So there's really not a lot of commitment to it, okay? It's a short-lived spurt that is taking place here. The eighth rule, keep the pressure on with different tactics and actions, and utilize all events of the period for your purpose. Ninth rule, the threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. Okay, there you go. See, the bark is more than the bite. 10th rule, the major premise for tactics is the development of operations that will remain a constant pressure upon the opposition. It is this unceasing pressure that results in the reactions from the opposition that are essential for the success of the campaign. It should be remembered that not only do the action of the reaction, but the action itself is the consequence of reaction, and the reaction to the reaction ad infinitum. The pressure produces the reaction, and constant pressure sustains action. The 11th rule is if you push a negative hard and deep enough, it will break through into its counter side. This is based on the principle that every positive has a negative. We've already seen the conversion of the negative into the positive in Mahatma Gandhi's development of the tactic of passive resistance. Okay. And finally, the 12th rule, the price of success, full attack, is a constructive alternative. You cannot risk being trapped by the enemy in a sudden agreement with your demand saying you're right. We don't know what it is about. Now you tell us. The 13th rule, pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, polarize it. This tactic, in conflict tactics, there are certain rules that the organizer should always regard as universalities. One is that the opposition must be singled out as the target and frozen. By this I mean that the complex, interrelated urban society, it becomes increasingly difficult to single out who is to blame for any particular evil. There is constant and somewhat legitimate passing of the buck. In these times of urbanization, complex metropolitan governments, the complexities of major interlocked corporations, and the interlocking of political life between cities and counties and metropolitan authorities, the problem that threatens to loom more and more is that of identifying the enemy. Obviously, there is no point to tactics unless one has a target upon which to center the attacks. One big problem is the consistent shifting of responsibility from one jurisdiction to another. Individuals and bureaus, one after the other, disclaim responsibility for particular conditions, attributing authority for any change to some other force. Okay, so interesting rules, right? So it's all about demoralizing somebody. That's what this whole system is about. Now, this is the system that is being utilized by the liberals. So when you turn on that television, if you're watching any of the news, channels, the news shows that are out there, if you're watching those, pay attention to these tactics. You will see them employing them over and over and over again. That is why they attack the way that they do, because it's a tactic. It's a tactic they're trying to divide. So let's go over these again. Here's a one-page summary that'll make it easy for you to understand. Rule number 1, power is not what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. So in other words, there's no power going on here. It's all an illusion. You create an illusionary power. Power is derived from two sources, money and people. Have-nots must build power from flesh and blood. So it's all about illusion. 2, never go outside the experience of your people. It results in confusion, fear, and retreat. So you want to build an organization of people that are trying to do the same thing as you, to create an illusionary image that you have power. And so you get a group of people to gather together to do that. Whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. So look for ways to increase insecurity, anxiety, and uncertainty. Okay, number 4, make the enemy live up to his own book of rules. If that rule is that every letter gets a reply, send 30,000 letters. You can kill them with this because no one can possibly obey all of their own rules. Okay, so you're overwhelming people with information. You turn one's rules against them. That's why when you hear, these shows, they press you for an answer. Give me a yes or no. Yes or no. And they're trying to force somebody into setting a rule for themselves. Yes, aha, I got you. And that's what they're doing. They're pushing you to make you fearful, to get you off balance, and it's an attack. That's what this is all about. Attacking. It's not about sitting back. It's about attacking and creating fear. And you gather together with a group of people in order to do exactly that. Rule number 5, ridicule is the man's most potent weapon. There is no defense. It's irrational, it's infuriating, and it also works as a key pressure point to force the enemy into concessions. Okay, so you attack by ridiculing. What are some of the first ridicules? You're racist. You're a bigot. You're homophobic. You hate America. On and on and on. It's attack, because when that gets attacked, when somebody attacks and tells another person you're racist, instantly that other person is on the defensive. But now they're going to defend themselves on why they're not that. But you got them. That's the tactic. To keep them off guard, to keep the pressure on, to keep someone on their heels. And you get the group of people to do this in an effort to demoralize somebody. Okay? See where it's all going? It all makes sense, right? Now, a tactic is one that your people enjoy. So you see, you have to enjoy what you do, and basically you have to enjoy ridiculing someone. You have to enjoy, trying to create fear in somebody. All of these tactics, you have to be able and willing to take from somebody that has, to give to yourself, somebody that has not. And in that, you have to look at yourself as a victim to believe you have not, in order to be able to say, okay, now I'm going to take from others. Okay? Rule number 7, a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. So basically, what we've got here is a situation. There's really no commitment, no honor among thieves. You only do it for a short period of time and then you move past it. Basically, what you're doing really has no purpose other than to do that. And once you feel that you've done it, then you move on to the next. Rule 8, keep the pressure on, never let up. Keep trying new things to keep the opposition off balance. As the opposition masters one approach, hit them with the flank with something new. Rule number 9, the threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. Imagination and ego can dream up more consequences than the activist. Rule 10, if you push a negative hard enough, it will become a positive. Violence from the other side can win the public to your side because the public sympathizes with the underdog. Okay, so first thing you got to do is you got to get yourself feeling like the underdog. You're the one being attacked. You're the one that's the victim. And therefore you're attacking because you're putting yourself in that position. Rule 11, the price of successful attack is a constructive alternative. Never let the enemy score points because you're caught without a solution to the problem. Okay? And finally, 12, pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, polarize it. In other words, you're cutting off the support network, isolate the target from sympathy, go after people and institutions. People hurt faster than institutions. You go after people, not institutions. Okay? That is why when you see these attacks, they're not attacking the Republican Party, they're attacking Donald Trump. They're attacking Donald Trump with words. And all of these tactics, do you see how they're being used? Sometimes they work on individuals, sometimes they don't. And when one tactic doesn't work, they go to the next. These tactics right here are the basic approach that is being followed by this liberal agenda. Okay? To gather together in a group of people and attack, 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 keep the pressure on, use various tactics to create fear, to create the illusion that you have more power than you do, to understand that your tactic is going to be much bigger than the actual power that you actually have. It's all based on illusion to try to throw somebody off balance. That is why on a daily basis when people buy into all of the nonsense in the news, they're buying into a tactic because that media outlet is using these tactics in order to get you. Every day, the media and those who are pushing this are trying one thing. Who is going to be demoralized today? Let's get one more person to be demoralized. So we'll put out fake polls. It's a tactic. We put out the fake polls. Those polls don't have power, but there's the illusion that they have power. Those polls and the threat of what these polls mean is much bigger than actually what the polls mean. They don't mean anything. Okay? You're just keeping the pressure on, keeping it on, keep someone on the defensive and attack their personal character. Got it? This is going to be available so you can check it out. And finally, one last story here in this regard. Newly discovered letters between Hillary Clinton and Saul Alinsky. And as we know, he was a community organizer and Marxist. Hillary Clinton, who is already presumed frontrunner for the presidency in 2016, has a radical past, and details are only now bubbling to the surface. Today, the Washington Free Beacon put together an excellent report about new letters between Hillary Clinton and Saul Alinsky, the infamous community organizer who wrote Rules for Radicals, a book which Alinsky dedicated to Lucifer, became the handbook for radical agitators and left-wing political causers. His efforts, which were just as evil as they were brilliant, were essential to the growth of the political left, including Marxism, as David Horowitz explains. Okay, and here we have some letters. And here's a letter to Saul Alinsky, and look, it's from Hillary Rodham. Oh, look at that. Hillary's writing him letters. And there we go. All right, this letter is to Mr. Alinsky. Can't really see that part there. It says when Barack Obama in the White House, America's already seen how much damage a community organizer can use in the White House. Can we really afford 4 to 8 more years of terrible leadership? So, I hope this little example here helps you to understand what this principle is all about. It's the principle that is being used by the left, by the liberals, by the Democratic Party, pretty much their platform. So as you're watching the media today, as you're listening to the politicians on the left, as you're listening to people who subscribe to this idea, understand that it is nothing more than a tactic meant to demoralize you based on the idea of creating an illusion that they who are employing this tactic have more power than they do. And that way, if you think they have more power, you're going to back down out of fear, which is what they're trying to create. But ultimately, they don't have any power. Their bark is bigger than their bite, and all they're trying to do is demoralize you by criticizing and personally attacking your character, because a big organization is not going to have the same effect as attacking a person. So when you see what's going on today, you'll see personal attacks that are being made by the left. What can you do about this? Now that you know what the tactics are, don't let them get away with it. Don't let yourself be suckered in to believing their lies, because what's the first rule there? Create an illusion of power that is not really there. So that's the first thing. So know that they're creating an illusion, and these people are powerless. Look at the people who are doing them. Look at the people on MSNBC. You think this guy Don Lemon has any power? This is just such a wimpy, weak person. But he attacks. Same with Rachel Maddow. Same with the others on that network. And you go to CNN, you got the same one. These aren't people with power. These are powerless, weak, sniveling individuals that attack. And you've seen it over the years, and now that you know what these rules are, you can be able to look at them and understand how those tactics have been used for years. Question is, now that you know it, are you still going to fall for their tricks? Are you still going to fall for their fake polls and their fake stories? Or are you going to realize now that all of these are tactics in order to get you to give up? That's all it is, my friends. That's all it is. So now that you know this, you shouldn't be concerned anymore, and you should now know what they're trying to do, so you can counteract it simply by not getting up, giving up, and not allowing their tactics to affect you. And remember, those buttons that they're pushing, they're emotional buttons. That's what the tactics are. Fear, to create fear in you, to create a sense of unbalance. All of these things, they're pushing your buttons. They're pushing your emotional buttons. So as we walk this path today, we don't want to get our buttons pushed. We don't want to charge forward with the lion inside, that beast running crazy. We want to use our imagination. We want to have faith. We want to protect ourselves from these things. It's not very difficult. I can go over and over, but these are going to be available at the website, firstcontactradio.com. I'll put it up at Facebook so you can go over them. Once you understand them, it's like looking at the other person's playbook. Those are their rules. That's it. Those are the rules. So now that we know the rules, let's not be affected by it, and we'll just breeze on right by. All right? All right. Let's switch gears here. This is an interesting article. It's about change. 6 reasons to always embrace change. Lost your job, going through a breakup, moving to a new place where you don't know anyone. Change can be pretty traumatic if you let it get to you. However, there are a lot of reasons to embrace change, good or bad, pretty or ugly. Change has the ability to enhance your life for the better when you embrace it, to get on board with it. Here's reasons why you should embrace change. 1, change is inevitable. The only constant in life is change. 2, change creates more excitement and adventure in your life. Honestly, if life never changed, you would be so bored. 3, change will reveal to you who's really important in your life. You'll never be quite so inclined to know who's really there for you when you move, get married, have a baby, or lose a friend. Big changes have a way of revealing to you the people in your life who are the biggest positive influences. 4, change is an opportunity to become someone new or to try a new identity. When you suddenly find yourself single, in a new job or in another new path, suddenly you have new opportunities to try on a new role. Change adds chapters to your life story. The more change you experience in life, the more chapters you have to look back on. And 6 changes the universal's way for preparing you for something you've been wanting. Sometimes the quickest route to your dreams is taken by smashing through a brick wall. The universe has a way of shaking things up when you are ready to transition to the next level. Embracing the change ensures you receive the positive benefits on the other side of it. Okay, so there you go. Change. Change is going to happen to all of us. It's the one constant in life. Everything changes. So when we understand what this process is, we understand it's necessary, we embrace change rather than not wanting to have change. And right now, we are going through a lot of changes in life, aren't we? Because we've been doing things one way, we are now dissatisfied with the way because it's been going on for a long while. So now we have to change to something else. And that is what is in the air. That's what we're all feeling, a change in the air. All right, here is a channeled message for today. Archangel Gabriel.
Archangel Gabriel Daily Message Wednesday, August 17th, 2016 by Shelley Young. Impatience, frustration and anxiety are at an all-time high for many of you. We want you to understand that those emotions are normal during such times of energetic intensity. We would like to offer some tips to help you move through these periods with greater comfort and ease. It is extremely common for human beings to assume things are wrong if they are not seeing tangible results for their efforts. We remind you that the flow consists of both the lull and action phases. When you are in a lull, a space where it seems like not much is going on, it is a time for rest, for integration, and to give yourself whatever you need to be comfortable and to move with the energies. It is a time to simplify, to spend time in good tender self-care and doing activities you enjoy. It is a time where you are releasing or integrating energies to prepare for the action phase of your journey. If you think of it that way, you will understand that the very existence of the lull indicates you are in preparation for the action phase that is gathering elements and aligning to break through. It is, by far, your resistance to any phase that creates discomfort. With wisdom and practice, you will come to the point where you seamlessly adjust to what energies are available to you at any given time, which will allow you to fully harness the gift of either stage. Acceptance and surrender are the antidotes to resistance, and will bring instant relief. It is your faith and trust that anchors acceptance. Dear ones, even if you doubt that you are unconditionally loved by all of your guides and helpers, and that everything is unfolding with divine perfection, stop and look at how nature operates. All aspects of life on your planet work with ebb and flow. The waves come in, the waves go out. You breathe in, you breathe out. One always follows the other. You are one with the natural rhythms of the planet. That is a tangible that you can see yourself as part of. Another way to give yourself the proof and reassurance you seek is to simply ask us for signs and start to look for the magic and support that is all around you. The synchronicities and guidance from the universe is always there for you, if only you think to ask and have the eyes to see. You are all doing a magnificent job. Trust that your inner wisdom, your soul, your highest self is masterfully leading you, along with your courage, intention, and conscious, loving heart, to the exact moments you are wishing to experience. There is a beautiful unfoldment happening here for you, and it is all happening because of you. Archangel Gabriel.
All right, very nice. Kind of fits in with our whole idea of change that we've discussed today. The different ways to facilitate change. There's the radical way, and then there's the non-radical way. Just think about it. Who is it that the liberal agenda, the Democratic Party, who are they embracing? The liberals. Who are they not pointing out as the enemy? ISIS. They're targeting the enemy elsewhere. part of their tactic. Remember, remember. This is our meditation time. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. And another breath. And exhale. Now keep breathing in and out. And feel this breath, this calmness of this breath as you breathe in and out, as it affects your body. Feel this breath go through each and every cell of your body to affect it with change by exchanging this fresh energy with the old energy that we exhale out into the universe. And through this process of breathing, we understand the process of change that occurs in each and every breath. And as we feel this change and experience this change, we understand how this change moves us along. For without breath, we would surely not be able to live. So change is necessary in order to live. And so it goes with all of the different functions of the body that are constantly changing from moment to moment, from heartbeat to heartbeat, breath to breath, step to step. So we look at the world now, and we see people walking around. We know that each individual is personally experiencing changes, but we also see that many of the people are not embracing these changes. And so we just simply send out some positive vibes to these people, because we understand that the reason for not accepting the change is because of fear. Fear of what will happen if we leave the comfort zone of where we are to go into another place. So we send out love and positivity and strength and courage. And as we do so and others are inspired by that, they embrace the change that is upon them, and they find their lives move forward in ways unknown even to them. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, we thank you for the changes that you bring into our life this day. We know that these changes are for our benefit, as they are all part of the universal plan, the plan of divinity that flows through us, ever changing us, ever evolving us. We thank you for the blessings of love and light that you share with us, that we have the opportunity to in turn share with others. And we look forward to the opportunities available today and all days as we move forward step by step along this path of change that you have set before us. So let the subconscious mind now continue moving forward along the path, observing the changes, embracing the changes, and sending out positive vibes to others that they might embrace and accept the changes as well. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of three. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is the show for today. I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that by understanding these rules that are out there, these tactics that are used, you understand how to counteract them. You understand the dire nature of what they're doing and the powerlessness that they actually do have within them, because they are simply tactics to knock one off balance. So don't get knocked off balance, and everything will be a different experience. That's it, my friends. Links are available, firstcontactradio.com. If you like the show, please subscribe. Feel free to send it any place. Share it, download it, whatever you'd like to do. I have no worries or issues about that. I got a Facebook page where I continuously put links and stories up there as I go throughout the day, and I know that they're coming up. Or you can find me on Twitter, First Contact Now. That's it. I'm going to move on with my business for the rest of today. You do the same thing. I'll be back tomorrow and we'll wrap up the week. In the meantime, I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.